Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Shulchan Aruch Yomi. Today we're continuing Hilchos Krias Shema. We're doing Siman Nun Tet, number 59, talking about Birchos Krias Shema. If you didn't know, there were two brachos before Krias Shema, one after Krias Shema in the morning, and at night there is two brachos before Krias Shema and two brachos after Krias Shema. What are the nature of these brachos? Are these Birchos HaMitzvah? As we mentioned, Krias Shema is a mitzvah. What type of mitzvah is it? Make sure to check out yesterday's Iyun Krias Shema Hilchos Iyun Shulchan Aruch Yomi Shir 58. Today we'll talk about Birchos Krias Shema. Is it a Birchos HaMitzvah, a Birchos HaNenin, a Birchos Shvach V'Odah? You're going to want to stick around to find out. Let's start Aleph. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam yoser or v'ori choshech tiknu lahazkir midas laila v'yom lahotzi milev hapikorsim she'om mishmi bara or lo bara choshech. Right? Conveniently, we mentioned during the bracha in the morning yoser or v'ori choshech. Right? We mentioned, why do we mention night? It's talking about the bracha in the morning. So to remind people that Hashem created, just like Hashem creates light, He also creates darkness. So don't think that's one without the other. There's two creators. There's only one creator of this world. Be'ezim tov amar b'asher b'dvaro mari v'aravim. Right, in the morning you're not supposed to say mari v'aravim. Right, so he said mari v'aravim. V'nizkar miyad amar yotzar. Tok k'dei dibur, he remembered. Tok k'dei dibur was like 3 seconds. He remembered, he fixed it. He said yotzar. V'gam sim yotzar amoros yotza. Then your Yotze, Avalim Amr Bidvaro Mari Varavim, Velo Amar Yotzar. He didn't say Yotzar. Although Siem Yotzar Amoros Lo Yotza. So either the beginning of his bracha, Bidvaro Mari Varavim, was wrong, or the end of his bracha, right? He ended like the first bracha in Mariv. He ended on Mari Varavim. So you're not Yote because you have to have a good Haschala and you have to go to Siem. Amr Yotzar Ovori Choshech, Asher Bidvaro Mari Varavim. Right, he mentioned both. V'gam siyem aravim lo yatza. Even though technically maybe he mentioned both, so he has a good haskala, but he didn't have a good siyem, so he's not yotzei. The Ramah says haga avu dinim lo amar tchila rak yotzer or im siyem ari aravim lo yatza, because the main part of the bracha is the siyem. Even if he had a good haskala, he didn't have. Right, even if he had a good Haskala Yotzer or he finished Mari Oram, that's bad enough. That's bad. The most important part is the Siyam. Avalim Siyam Yotzer Moros came with a Pasuk Yotzer or Yata Alpish Hifsik Mari Varavim. The Chiddush is that the Kula is by the Haskala that if you have the right Gemar, you said Yotzer Amoros, which is the correct ending in Birchos Krias Shema in the morning. Even if you mention both Yotzer and Mari Varavim in the Haskala of the Bracha, since you mentioned Yotzer or there you could be makel and you could say that it's Marav Aravim like Halacha Aleph. We mentioned the Midah of Hashem creating the night. So therefore, B'di'evet, it's okay. Chazal already Masakin, right? Yotzer or Vori Choshech, right? You said Vori Choshech, but you want to add Marav Aravim. You're not supposed to do that. But B'di'evet, you're Yotzei. Gimel, Yesh Omrim Shah Kedusha Shabi Yotzer or Yachid Omral. If you She'enu El Sipur Dvarim, if you noticed in the middle of the first bracha, where you say Kadosh 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 Kedusha, right? Aruch Hashem Kol Malchus Olam V'Ed. Wait, what do you say? Yeah, you say Kedusha. You say Kedusha. It's funny how I forgot this. I supposedly say Birchos Krias Shema every morning, so. Kadosh Kadosh, Baruch Hashem Komo. That's what you say. You don't say Baruch Hashem Komo. If you say Baruch Hashem Komo, just make sure to say it silently, like Krias Shema. It's okay. I give you a heter. All right. Some say that Kedusha, right? The question whether you can say it if you don't have 10 people, right? We said Baruch Hu is supposed to have 10 people. So the Birchos Krias Shema, maybe, right? Technically, the Birchos Krias Shema, you can say it even in your house by yourself. What about the Kedusha in the middle? Is that considered Dvarim Sheva Kedusha? That's the Machlokas over here. It's 2 days over here. The Rambam says we don't say it. The Shulchan Aruch recommends you should be choshish for the Shita of the Rambam. If you're a yachid, you should say it like you're reading from the Torah. Kadosh, 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 I believe is pasuk in Nevi'im. So therefore, say it like you're reading the Torah. There's no problem. If you're saying it with Torah's tefillah, it has to be Darsh V'dush. You need 10 people. God, the Ramah says, not like a Shulchan Aruch, Pasha, Aminak, as far as Rishona, that you say it even. You can say it even without. Minag, V'yachid Omer, Osa, Okshaonin, and a person can say this even without saying with a nigun, even without like laning from the Haftorah. Okshaonin, Kedusha Zos, Omer B'kol Ram. When you say it in a Sibor, Mishnah Berurah points out, you say it very loud. When you're saying B'yachid, you don't say it loud. The Vilna Gaon says, the Gra, Mishnah Berurah brings the Gra, that really holds the halakha is like the Rambam. So therefore, he says the best. The Mishnah Berurah says that it's nachal nahader momer b'yachid lomer b'nigun time agara psukim. The best thing to do if you're saying it in your house personally, to say kedusha, baruch Hashem baruch le'olam va'ed. You should say those two things. You should say them in nigun and timim. You should say them like you're reading from the Torah or the Haftorah. Dalit. Birchas yotzer v'arvis omer imashliach sibur v'nachas. You're supposed to say along quietly, as opposed to the Mishnah Berurah says you could be yotze technically with the shliach sibur. You could just be silent and listen to him. Only Shemona Esrei they said you can't be yotze with the shliach sibur. If you're a baki, if you have a sitter, or you know the words. If you know the words, you can't be yotze. You have to say Shemona Esrei yourself. Birchas Krias technically could be yotze. The minhag is to say it along with him. Because you say it benach, you say it more with more concentration. It says benach, say it very slowly. There's a raya for the people here in the shul over here that say it very, very slowly. Not like the people that the matzah minyanim they have certain places. A matzah minyan means you finish the minyan in less than 18 minutes, even with Krias Torah. So it wouldn't be benachas. But the Mishnah Berurah admits that we don't say benachas anymore. That's what he says over here. As he says benachas. Where does he say this? Right? Something you could say a benachas, could not. You should finish saying the bracha, at least the first bracha of Krias Shema before Shliach Sibur. Like we said, you can be yotze from the Shliach Sibur. The brachos you can be yotze even if you're someone proficient. You know the brachos. Because Berachos Krias Shema, we're assuming starting from Baruch is Berachos Krias Shema. So these are things which are already considered Dvarim Shebekdusha. So you need 10 people to be yotze. Some say Berachos HaShachar, right, in the morning you need 10 people. But I don't think the halakha is like that. But this, technically, we say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. We say Baruch is Dvarim Shebekdusha. So in order to be yotze with the Shliach Sibur, you need 10 people because in Dvarim Shebekdusha, Pachos Me'asara. However, the second bracha, right before Krias Shema, you shouldn't say Amen. Mishum, the heavy hefsek, it's a hefsek. Why is it a hefsek? Because the Shulchan Aruch is assuming that it's a berachas mitzvah. A bocher b'amal Yisrael b'ahava is a berachas mitzvah. You're about to do the mitzvah of Krias Shema. What is the mitzvah of Krias Shema? So that we explained yesterday. I said it's a mitzvah of limud Torah. You can say it's a separate mitzvah b'nei atzmo of Krias Shema. But anyway, the consensus of the Shulchan Aruch is that it's a berachas mitzvah. So when you make a bracha on lulav, you're not supposed to be mafsik before you shake the lulav. When you make a bracha on matzah, you're not supposed to be mafsik before you eat the matzah. Similarly over here, the Ramah says v'ayin l'kaman sim sadi al the samach aleph that we really paskin that it's not considered a hefsek, and you could answer amen. The Mishnah Berurah says to be yotze all the shitas, what you should do is you should finish. A lot of people wonder why people do this. They abocher b'amal Yisrael b'ahava. They say along with the Shliach Sibur, therefore they don't finish beforehand and they don't have the problem of answering Amen. But technically the halach is that you do answer Amen. I'm going to posit not like that in Ian Shulchan Aruch and explain, because after all it is a berachas mitzvah. Technically we know from the bracha Birchas Hilchos Siman Mem Zayin 47 Birchas Krias Shema, Berachas Torah, that technically if you already davened and you said Ava Rabbah, and you said Krias Shema, and then you learned afterwards, or didn't learn afterwards, you could be yotze berachas Torah. So it is berachas mitzvah, learning Torah. So maybe it is a hefsek. I'll explain why I think it's a hefsek in Shulchan Aruch. Hey, sometimes people are the shliach sibur, and they remember, it's 9:30. The stock market opens. The Shliach Sibur. They're in New York. It's 9:30. The stock market just opened. And they realized they didn't sell the stock. After their earnings report the previous day, and after market earnings report, everything was going down as our portfolio was collapsing. He's in the middle of Yosar, but he has to stop because he has to run home. So then his wife asks him, "So what are you doing home? I have to save our money. You know, I mean, we're worth 100 million, but we're going to be worth 97 million after a couple hours." So the wife says, "That's it. We're moving to Eretz Yisrael," and they moved to Eretz Yisrael. This is a true story; it actually happened. Moved to Eretz Yisrael, and no longer has this problem because it's very convenient in Eretz Yisrael. Stock market open at 4:30 in the afternoon, and no problem with Shachris. Maybe a problem with Mincha, and the winter months you could always daven early Mincha. So they lived happily ever after in Rehavia for the rest of their lives. And that just shows you this halacha coming to life, It's a famous story. I think Krohn writes in all his books. He writes in every single one of the Maggid's book. I'm joking. This is not a true story. But if for some reason he makes a mistake and he has to leave, right? He has to leave. The Sidurim nowadays, he obviously knows the words. If he made a mistake, when he said kadosh, 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 and they answered kadosh, kadosh, right? Once you start saying v'alfanim, so therefore, if he made a mistake after that, so it's like a new bracha almost. It's like two halves of one bracha. So the person who is replacing him just starts from over there. The Rama says, if you finish before kedusha, or even I guess in the middle of kadosh, 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 then you have to go back to the beginning of the bracha because that's already the first half of the bracha, and the person replacing him has to do over what he didn't complete to do. If he completed the half of the bracha, then he can do the second half of the bracha. Also, two parts of the first bracha. Interesting. Stay tuned for Shulchan Aruch, where we talk more about Berachas HaMitzvah, what Krias Shema exactly is, whether you can be mafsik in Ava Rabbah and Krias Shema. See you there. Bye.